The 50 Bibles of Constantine were Bibles in Greek language commissioned in 331 by Constantine I and prepared by Eusebius of Caesarea. They were made for the use of the Bishop of Constantinople in the growing number of churches in that very new city. Eusebius quoted the letter of commission in his Life of Constantine, and it is the only surviving source from which we know of the existence of the Bibles. Biblical canon. It is speculated that this commission may have provided motivation for the development of the canon lists and that Codex Sinaiticus and Codex Vaticanus are possible surviving examples of these Bibles. There is no evidence among the records of the First Council of Nicaea of any determination on the canon. However, Jerome, in his prologue to Judith, makes the claim that the Book of Judith was found by the Nicene Council to have been counted among the number of the sacred scriptures. Requisition. According to Eusebius, Constantine I wrote him in his letter, "I have thought it expedient to instruct your prudence to order 50 copies of the sacred scriptures, the provision and use of which you know to be most needful for the instruction of the Church, to be written on prepared parchment in a legible manner, and in a convenient, portable form, by professional transcribers thoroughly practiced in their art, about accomplishing the emperor's demand." Such were the emperor's commands, which were followed by the immediate execution of the work itself, which we sent him in magnificent and elaborately bound volumes of a 3-fold and 4-fold form. This is the usual way in which Eusebius's text is translated, but there are more possibilities, because the phrase nu piomicron lambda upsilon tau epsilon lambda sigma sigma kappa eta mu epsilon nu omicron iota sigma tau epsilon upsilon chi epsilon sigma iota nu tau rho iota sigma sigma kappa alpha tau epsilon tau rho alpha sigma sigma delta iota alpha pi epsilon mu psi alpha nu tau omega nu mu nu has many meanings. Codices were prepared in 3 or 4 volumes. Bernard de Montfaucon. Codices were sent in 3 or 4 boxes. F.A. Heinichen. Codices were prepared in with 3 or 4 folios. Scrivener. Text of the codices was written in 3 or 4 columns per page. Tischendorf, Gebhardt, and Gregory. Cursor plate. Codices were sent by 3s or 4s. Athanasius of Alexandria referred to another request of producing Bible manuscripts. I sent to him volumes containing the Holy Scriptures, which he had ordered me to prepare for him. Athanasius could have received this request between 337 to 339. Codex Sinaiticus and Vaticanus. Constantine von Tischendorf, discoverer of Codex Sinaiticus, believed that Sinaiticus and Vaticanus were among these 50 Bibles prepared by Eusebius in Caesarea. According to him, they were written with 3 or 4 columns per page. Tischendorf's view was supported by Pierre Batiffol. Frederick Henry Ambrose Scrivener rejected Tischendorf's speculation because of differences between the 2 manuscripts. In Sinaiticus, the text of the Gospels is divided according to the Ammonian sections with references to the Eusebian canons, but Vaticanus used the older system of division. Vaticanus was prepared in a format of 5 folios in 1 quire, but Sinaiticus had 8 folios. According to Scrivener, Eusebian Bibles contained 3 or 4 folios per quire. Scrivener stated that the Eusebian is unclear and should not be used for a doubtful theory. Westcott and Hort argued the order of biblical books on the Eusebian list of the canonical books, quoted by Eusebius in Ecclesiastical History, is different from every surviving manuscript. Probably none of the 50 copies survive today. Caspar Renner Gregory believed that Vaticanus and Sinaiticus were written in Caesarea, and they could belong to the Eusebian 50. According to Victor Gardhausen, Sinaiticus is younger than Vaticanus by at least 50 years. Kersopleg states, copies of 3 and 4 columns is grammatically sound, but there appears not to be good evidence for this technical use of the words. Sending them by 3s of 4s is the most attractive, but there is no evidence that tau rho iota sigma sigma alpha can denote 3 at a time. Regarding in 3 or 4 columns per page, there is only one known manuscript written in that way, Sinaiticus. Sinaiticus has a curious spelling of the word kappa rho alpha beta alpha tau tau omicron sigma as kappa rho alpha beta alpha kappa tau omicron sigma. Sinaiticus spells iota sigma rho alpha eta lambda epsilon iota tau eta sigma as iota sigma delta rho alpha eta lambda epsilon iota tau eta sigma. Vaticanus as iota sigma tau rho alpha eta lambda epsilon iota tau eta sigma. These forms have been regarded as Latin, and they can find in papyri from Egypt. There is no other known Greek district in which these forms were used. The argument for us is Aryan origin of these two manuscripts is much weaker than Egyptian. According to Heinrich Schumacher, Eusebius instead prepared 50 lectionaries, not Bibles. Skeet believed that Vaticanus was rejected by the emperor, for it is deficient in the Eusebian canon tables, contains many corrections, and lacks the books of Maccabees. Kurt Orland, Bruce M. Metzger, Bar D. M. and out that Sinaiticus and Vaticanus were copied by Eusebius on the Constantine order.